The Empire had ruled the stars for 300 years. Their warships numbered in the tens of thousands. Their soldiers had conquered 47 species across 3 galaxies. Every civilization that rose against them fell. Every world that resisted them burned. They believed they were the masters of all creation, and for a very long time, no one proved them wrong. Grand Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the stars pass by. He was old by standards, nearly 2 centuries of life behind him, and he had seen empires crumble beneath his feet. He feared nothing. He respected nothing. The universe was his to command. "Grand Admiral," said Subcommander, approaching with a data tablet in her clawed hands. "The scouting fleet has returned from the dead zone border. They found something." Turned slowly. The dead zone was a region of space that no ship could cross. Gravitational storms, radiation clouds, and space-time fractures made it a graveyard for any vessel foolish enough to enter. They had tried to cross it once, centuries ago. They lost an entire fleet. After that, they marked it as forbidden territory and forgot about whatever lay beyond. "What did they find?" asked, his voice like grinding stone. "A colony world, Grand Admiral. Small population, primitive defenses." Paused. "They are not a species we have encountered before. They call themselves humans." Took the tablet and examined the images. The creatures were strange. Soft skin, no claws, no natural armor. They walked upright on 2 legs and had small eyes that seemed fragile and weak. Their buildings were simple, their weapons outdated by standards. "Destroy them," said, handing back the tablet. "They are of no importance." Nodded and left to relay the orders. Within hours, the scouting fleet descended upon the human colony world. The humans fought back with surprising ferocity, but they were outnumbered, and the battle lasted less than a day. When it was over, the colony was ash, and they moved on to other concerns. But before the colony died, they sent a message. A single transmission, traveling faster than light, racing across the void toward a distant blue world called Earth. Captain Daniel Cole was eating breakfast when the alarm sounded. He was a tall man with hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He commanded the USS Valiant, a new class of battlecruiser that Earth Command had spent 20 years building in secret. The ship was the most advanced vessel humanity had ever created, but it had never fired its weapons in actual combat. Daniel set down his coffee and walked calmly to the bridge. His crew was already at their stations, their faces tense with worry. Commander, his first officer, met him at the door. "Colony Reach 7 is gone," Kate said quietly. "They found them." Daniel felt the words hit him like a physical blow. Colony Reach 7 was home to 12,000 people, families, children, scientists working to build a better future for humanity. All of them were now dead. "How did they find them?" Daniel asked. "We do not know yet, but they sent a distress signal before the end. They know we exist now, Captain. They know where to look." Daniel walked to the main and stared at the stars. For 200 years, humanity had hidden behind the dead zone. They had watched them conquer the galaxy from afar, knowing that one day the Empire might find them. That day had come. "What is Earth Command saying?" Daniel asked. "Emergency session in 1 hour. All ship captains are ordered to attend by hologram." The meeting was grim. Admiral Stone, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's fleet, stood before the assembled captains with a heavy expression. Behind her, a tactical display showed the Empire in red. It covered almost everything. "They are assembling an invasion fleet," Admiral Stone said. 500 warships. They will reach the dead zone border in 3 weeks. We have 37 ships to defend Earth and all our remaining colonies." The captains murmured among themselves. The numbers were impossible. Even with humanity's advanced technology, they could not fight 500 enemy vessels. "However," Admiral Stone continued, raising her hand for silence, "we are not going to wait for them to come to us. We have a plan." She pressed a button and the display changed. It showed a single point deep within territory, far beyond the dead zone. This is Prime. It is the largest military shipyard in the Empire. Every year, they produce 200 new warships at this facility. If we destroy it, we cripple their ability to replace losses. More importantly, we show them that humanity can strike anywhere. How do we get a ship there? One captain asked. The dead zone is impassable. Admiral Stone smiled slightly. Not anymore. Captain Cole, your ship has been selected for this mission. The Valiant carries a prototype void jump drive. It can cross the dead zone where no other ship can. You will travel alone behind enemy lines and destroy Prime. Daniel felt every eye turn toward him. He understood what the Admiral was truly saying. This was a suicide mission, one ship against an entire empire. The odds of survival were almost zero. I accept, Daniel said without hesitation. After the meeting, Kate found him in his quarters, staring out the window at the stars. The crew deserves to know, she said. They deserve to choose. Daniel nodded. Assemble everyone in the main hall. I will tell them myself. 1 hour later, Daniel stood before his crew of 800 men and women. He told them everything. The mission, the odds, the likelihood that none of them would ever see Earth again. When he finished, he gave them a choice. Anyone who wished to leave could transfer to another ship with no shame. No one left. Lieutenant Samuel Hart, the young weapons officer, stepped forward. Captain, we all knew what we signed up for when we joined the Valiant. Earth is our home. Our families are there. If this mission gives them a chance to survive, then we are with you. The crew cheered. Daniel felt pride swell in his chest. These were the finest people he had ever served with. 3 days later, the USS Valiant departed Earth orbit. As the ship turned toward the dead zone, Daniel looked back at the small blue planet growing distant behind them. He made a silent promise. He would make the pay for colony reach 7. He would give Earth a fighting chance. The Empire's worst fear was coming, and it was coming for them. The dead zone stretched before them like a wound in space itself. Through the main, Captain Daniel Cole could see swirling clouds of radiation that glowed with sick green light. Lightning storms the size of planets crackled between gravitational wells that could tear a ship apart in seconds. The wreckage of ancient vessels drifted through the chaos, silent monuments to all those who had tried to cross before. Beginning entry sequence, announced Ensign Ford from her station. She was young, barely 25, but she spoke 12 alien languages and could decode enemy communications faster than anyone in the fleet. Her hands moved steadily across her console, hiding the fear that everyone on the bridge felt. Commander Kate stood beside Daniel, her arms crossed as she studied the readings on her display. The radiation levels are higher than we expected. Our shields will hold, but it will be rough. How long to cross? Daniel asked. 18 hours if we push the engines. Chief Price is not happy about it. Daniel almost smiled. Price, the chief engineer, was never happy about anything. The man treated the Valiant like his own child and complained whenever Daniel asked the ship to do something difficult, but he always delivered. Always. The Valiant entered the dead zone, and everything went wrong immediately. The ship shook violently as gravitational waves slammed against the hull. Alarms screamed. Crew members grabbed onto rails and consoles to stay upright. Daniel gripped his command chair as the filled with blinding light from a radiation burst. Shields at 80%, Kate reported, her voice calm despite the chaos. Hull stress is within limits. Keep us steady, Daniel ordered. All hands secure stations and prepare for extended turbulence. The next 18 hours were the longest of Daniel's life. The dead zone threw everything it had at them. Gravity wells tried to pull them off course. Radiation storms cooked their outer hull. Debris from destroyed ships struck them like bullets in the night. Through it all, the crew held together. They worked in shifts, repairing damage as fast as it appeared, keeping the shields online, keeping the engines running. Price spent the entire crossing in engineering, covered in grease and sweat, personally rewiring systems that the dead zone kept trying to destroy. When a power conduit exploded and injured 2 of his technicians, he carried them to medical himself before returning to work. Lieutenant Samuel Hart stayed at his weapons console, even though there was nothing to shoot. He ran diagnostic after diagnostic, making sure every weapon would fire when they needed it. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, but he had the steadiest hands Daniel had ever seen. Ford monitored enemy communications throughout the crossing, listening for any sign that the HAD detected them. She heard nothing. The dead zone was keeping their secret, at least for now. Finally, after 18 hours of punishment, the Valiant emerged on the other side. The radiation clouds faded behind them. The gravitational storms became distant flickers. Before them lay open space, quiet and dark, filled with stars that no human had ever seen up close. They were inside territory. They were behind enemy lines. "We made it," Kate whispered, almost not believing it. Daniel nodded slowly. "Damage report. Shields at 40% and recharging. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12 sealed. Engines operating at 90%. We lost 3 crew members to injuries, but medical says they will recover." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, grateful. They had survived the impossible crossing. Now the real mission could begin. He stood and addressed the bridge crew. "What I am about to tell you does not leave this room until we reach our target. Our mission is to destroy the shipyards at Prime. This facility produces most of their warships. If we take it out, we cripple their fleet for years." The crew exchanged glances but remained silent. "I will not lie to you," Daniel continued. "We will face over 100 enemy ships at the shipyards, maybe more. Our chances of survival are small, but if we succeed, we give Earth a future. We give our families a chance to live." Samuel Hart spoke up. "How do we fight that many ships, Captain? Even the Valiant cannot take on 100 enemies at once." Daniel turned to Kate, who stepped forward with a slight smile. "We have a secret weapon," Kate said. "Chief Price, please explain." His voice came over the intercom from engineering. He sounded exhausted but proud. "The Valiant carries a prototype void jump drive. Unlike normal faster-than-light travel, this drive lets us make short-range jumps within a battle zone. We can appear behind enemy ships, fire, and vanish before they can react. No other ship in the galaxy can do this." The bridge crew murmured with excitement. This changed everything. "We will not win by fighting fair," Daniel said. "We will win by being faster, smarter, and more unpredictable than anything they have ever faced. They have ruled this galaxy for 300 years because no one has ever surprised them. We are going to change that." Kate brought up a tactical display showing the route to Prime. "We are 12 days from the target. We will need to pass through several patrol zones. If we are detected early, the shipyards will be on high alert when we arrive." "Then we will not be detected," Daniel said. "Silent running. No active sensors. We move like ghosts until we are ready to strike." The crew nodded. They understood. They were deep in enemy territory with no backup and no way home except through victory. Fear was natural, but these men and women had chosen to be here. They would see this through. Over the next several days, the Valiant crept through space. They avoided patrol routes, hid in asteroid fields, and used the void jump drive to skip past sensor nets. Ford listened to enemy communications constantly, learning their codes, their patterns, their weaknesses. Daniel used the time to prepare his crew. They ran battle drills until every person could do their job in their sleep. They practiced void jump maneuvers until the timing was perfect. They studied ship designs, looking for weak points to exploit. On the 8th day, Sub-Commander sat in her quarters aboard the Eternal Dominion, reading old records. She had become curious about this species called humans. The official reports said they were weak and primitive, but something bothered her. Why had they survived so long behind the dead zone? Why had they never tried to make contact? She found references to an ancient survey mission, conducted centuries ago when the Empire first discovered the dead zone. The survey team had made brief contact with humans before the crossing became impossible. The report was short and strange. It said that humans were too dangerous to conquer, not because of their weapons or their technology, but because of something else, something the surveyor could not quite explain. The recommendation was simple: leave them alone, pretend they do not exist. Stared at the report for a long time. What kind of species frightened them so much that they chose to forget about them? And what would happen now that the Empire had reminded humanity of the galaxy's cruelty? Deep in the void, the USS Valiant continued its silent journey toward Prime. The crew did not know that their existence had already become a whisper among certain officers. They did not know that ancient fears were beginning to wake. They only knew their mission: strike the heart of the Empire and show the galaxy that humanity would not be conquered. The patrol appeared without warning. 12 destroyers, arranged in a standard hunting formation, their sensors sweeping the space around them. The USS Valiant had been hiding in the shadow of a dead moon when the enemy fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. Captain Daniel Cole did not panic. He had been expecting this moment since they left Earth. "They have seen us," Ensign Ford reported, her voice tight. "They are hailing us on multiple frequencies." "Put them on screen," Daniel ordered. The main flickered to life, showing the face of a commander. The alien was tall and covered in dark scales, with 4 yellow eyes that burned with arrogance. His voice translated automatically through the ship systems. "Unknown vessel, you have entered the territory of the Empire. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Daniel stood slowly from his command chair. He looked at the alien on the screen, thinking of Colony Reach 7, thinking of 12,000 innocent people who had been murdered because they happened to live in the wrong part of space. "I have a message for you," Daniel said calmly. "Earth remembers the colony you burned." The commander blinked in confusion. "Earth, I do not know this word. Surrender now or die." Daniel cut the transmission. "Red alert," he ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Lieutenant Hart, you may fire when ready." Samuel Hart grinned at his console. "With pleasure, Captain." The destroyers began to move, spreading out to surround the single human ship. They expected easy prey. They expected surrender or a brief, one-sided fight. They did not expect the Valiant to vanish. The Void Jump Drive engaged with a flash of blue light. One moment the Valiant was in front of the enemy formation. The next moment, it was behind them. Samuel opened fire before they even realized what had happened. Human weapons were different from anything the Empire had encountered. Where ships used energy beams that took time to burn through shields, human fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The metal slugs punched through enemy shields like they were made of paper. The first destroyer exploded before its crew could scream. The second followed a heartbeat later. The third tried to turn and fight, but the Valiant jumped again, appearing above it, raining death down upon its unprotected hull. The battle lasted less than 4 minutes. When it was over, 12 destroyers drifted through space as burning wreckage. The USS Valiant had not taken a single hit. On the bridge, the crew stared at them in stunned silence. They had trained for this. They had believed in their ship, but seeing it happen was something else entirely. "All targets destroyed," Samuel reported, his voice shaking slightly. "No survivors detected." Daniel nodded slowly. He felt no joy in the killing. These soldiers had families too, somewhere in their vast empire. But they served a government that murdered innocent colonists. They served a fleet that was coming to destroy Earth. There could be no mercy in this war, only survival. "What are you hearing on their communications?" Daniel asked. Ford listened to her earpiece, her face growing pale. "Confusion, Captain. Total confusion. The destroyers managed to send a partial distress signal before we destroyed them. Other ships in the sector are responding. They do not understand what happened. They have never seen weapons like ours. They have never seen a ship that can teleport." "Will they send reinforcements?" "Yes, Captain, many reinforcements. I am hearing chatter about an unknown threat. They are calling us a ghost ship." Daniel allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let them be afraid. Let them wonder what was hunting them in the dark." "Set course for Prime," he ordered. "Best speed. We move before they can organize a response." The Valiant jumped to faster-than-light travel and disappeared into the void. Across the Empire, word began to spread. Something had emerged from the dead zone, something that could not be tracked, could not be predicted, and could not be stopped. 12 destroyers had been lost in minutes, and the attacker had vanished without a trace. Grand Admiral received the report on his flagship while supervising the invasion fleet. He read it twice, not believing what he was seeing. Ships did not teleport. The dead zone could not be crossed. This was impossible. "Find this vessel," he commanded. "Send 50 warships to hunt it down. I want it captured or destroyed within 3 days." His officers hurried to obey. 50 warships was an enormous response to a single enemy ship. It was enough firepower to conquer a small civilization. Surely it would be enough to handle one lost human vessel. Sub-Commander watched from the shadows as the orders went out. She had continued her research into humanity, digging deeper into the old records. What she found disturbed her. Humans were not like other species. When faced with impossible odds, they did not surrender. When pushed into corners, they fought harder. The ancient survey reports described them as dangerously unpredictable, capable of incredible feats when protecting their homes and families. One report used a phrase that stuck in his mind. "They are small and weak, but their spirits burn like stars." She approached Grand Admiral carefully. "Sir, I have concerns about this hunt." Barely looked at her. "Speak." "The humans crossed the dead zone. No one has done that in centuries. Their weapons destroyed our destroyers instantly. I believe we may be underestimating them." Laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "Underestimating them. They have one ship. We have 50 hunting them and 500 more ready to invade their world. They are insects beneath our feet." "Insects do not cross impossible barriers. Insects do not destroy our ships in minutes." His eyes narrowed dangerously. "Are you questioning my judgment, Sub-Commander?" Lowered her head. "No, Grand Admiral, I merely advise caution." "Your caution is noted and rejected. Return to your duties." Retreated, but her mind continued to race. She had a terrible feeling that the Empire was about to learn a hard lesson about the price of arrogance. Meanwhile, the USS Valiant raced toward its target. The crew was energized by their victory, but understood that harder battles lay ahead. Daniel gathered his senior officers in the briefing room to plan their next moves. "The hunt will begin soon," Kate said, displaying a tactical map. 50 ships are a lot, but we have advantages they cannot match. Our void jump drive gives us mobility. Our weapons give us killing power. If we fight smart, we can thin their numbers before reaching the shipyards." Price shook his head. The drive was not designed for heavy combat use. Every jump puts stress on the systems. If we push too hard, we could burn out the core. "How many jumps can we safely make?" Daniel asked. "In a single engagement, maybe 20. After that, we need time to cool the systems. Force more than that, and we risk a catastrophic failure." Daniel considered this carefully. 20 jumps per battle. That meant they had to make every jump count. "We fight on our terms," he decided. "Hit and run. Never let them pin us down. If they think they have us trapped, we vanish and strike somewhere else. We make them afraid to sleep." The officers nodded. They had 12 days of travel remaining. Somewhere out there, 50 warships were hunting them. The real war was about to begin. That night Daniel stood alone on the observation deck, watching the stars blur past. He thought about his wife and daughter back on Earth. He had not told them the truth about this mission. They believed he was on a routine patrol. They did not know he might never come home. But if this mission succeeded, they would live. Earth would survive. That was worth any price. The hunt was coming. Daniel was ready. The first hunting pack found them on day 2. 8 cruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel and surrounded the Valiant before Daniel could react. They had been waiting in ambush, hiding behind a gas giant, and the trap was nearly perfect. "Nearly. Jump coordinates locked," Kate announced. "Ready on your order, Captain." "Wait," Daniel said, watching the enemy ships close in. "Let them get comfortable." The commander broadcast a surrender demand. Daniel ignored it. The enemy ships moved closer, confident in their numbers, certain that this lone human vessel had nowhere to run. "Now," Daniel said. The Valiant vanished in a flash of blue light. It reappeared directly above the lead cruiser, so close that the 2 ships nearly touched. Samuel Hart fired all weapons at point-blank range. The slugs tore through the cruiser's reactor, and the ship exploded in a ball of orange fire. Before the other could react, the Valiant jumped again, and again, and again. Each jump brought them behind another enemy ship. Each jump brought another kill. In 90 seconds, 6 cruisers were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 2 tried to flee, but the Valiant ran them down without mercy. "All targets eliminated," Samuel reported. "Void jump drive at 80% capacity." Daniel nodded grimly. They had used 8 jumps in this battle. Warning echoed in his mind. They needed to be more careful with their secret weapon. "Continue toward Prime," he ordered. "Stay alert for more ambushes." Over the next 3 days, the Valiant fought 7 more engagements. They learned quickly and adapted their tactics. They spread their ships wider, making it harder to destroy multiple targets with single attacks. They developed new sensor techniques to predict where the Valiant might reappear. They began targeting the space around their own ships with preemptive fire, hopping to catch the human vessel mid-jump. None of it worked. Daniel and Kate were better tacticians. They varied their patterns, never jumping to the same relative position twice. They used asteroids and debris as cover. They attacked from unexpected angles. The void jump drive gave them an advantage that the simply could not overcome. By the end of day 3, the hunting fleet of 50 ships had been reduced to 19. 31 vessels drifted through space as shattered wreckage, their crews dead, their weapons silent. The USS Valiant had become a legend of terror among the survivors. But victory came at a cost. A lucky shot during the 5th engagement had struck the Valiant's port side, killing 8 crew members and wounding a dozen more. The 6th battle saw a direct hit on the bridge that injured Commander Kate. Shrapnel had torn through her shoulder, and she had lost a lot of blood before medical teams reached her. Daniel sat beside her bed in the medical bay, watching her sleep. The doctors said she would recover, but she needed rest. She had refused to leave the bridge until Daniel personally ordered her to stand down. "You should be commanding the ship," Kate murmured, her eyes still closed. "The ship can handle itself for a few minutes. How do you feel?" "Like I was hit by a starship." She opened her eyes and managed a weak smile, "which I suppose I was." Daniel took her hand. "You saved us during that battle. Your shield rotation maneuver bought us the seconds we needed to jump." "That is what first officers are for." She squeezed his hand. "Do not let me slow us down, Daniel. The mission matters more than any of us." "You are not slowing us down. Rest. We will need you for the final battle." Price found Daniel in the corridor afterward, his uniform stained with oil and burn marks. "Captain, we have a problem," said quietly. The void jump drive is degrading faster than expected. We have been pushing it too hard. I estimate we have maybe 15 more jumps before the system fails completely. Daniel felt cold spread through his chest. 15 jumps. That was not enough for a battle against the ship's guarding prime. Can you repair it? I can try, but I need time and parts we do not have. If I work through the night, I might be able to squeeze out a few more jumps. Maybe 20 total, but after that, we lose our biggest advantage. Daniel nodded slowly. Do what you can, we adjust our plans. That night, Daniel called his remaining officers to the briefing room. Kate joined them by hologram from her medical bed, refusing to be left out. Daniel explained the situation honestly. We have 20 jumps remaining. Intelligence suggests 150 ships guard the shipyards. We cannot fight them all directly. Then what do we do? Samuel asked. We do not need to destroy the fleet. We need to destroy the shipyards. Daniel brought up a diagram of the facility. The station has a main reactor that powers everything. If we can get inside the defense perimeter and hit that reactor, the resulting explosion will take out the docks, the construction bays, and probably half the ships defending it. Getting inside will be the hard part, Kate said through the hologram. They will have every weapon pointed at us the moment we arrive. Which is why we need a distraction. Daniel zoomed out the display. The fuel depot is here, 2 hours from the shipyards. If we destroy it first, they will panic. Ships will scatter to investigate. Defenses will be confused. We use that chaos to make our final run. The officers considered the plan. It was dangerous. It relied on speed, surprise, and a lot of luck. But it was their best chance. I am in, Samuel said. Same here, added. I will keep this ship running until the last bolt falls off. Then it is settled, Daniel said. We hit the fuel depot tomorrow. After that, we go straight for the shipyards. No stops, no hesitation. We end this. Far away on the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral received the latest casualty reports. His face was a mask of cold fury. 31 ships lost to a single enemy vessel. It was unprecedented. It was humiliating. Sub-Commander stood before him, holding another data tablet. Sir, I have completed my analysis of the human tactics. They are using some form of short-range teleportation technology. Our weapons cannot track them. Our shields cannot predict where they will appear. Then find a solution, growled. I will not be made a fool by these primitives. There may not be a solution, Grand Admiral. Their technology is beyond anything we have encountered. I believe the ancient reports were correct. The humans were left alone for a reason. Slammed his fist on his command chair. I do not care about ancient reports. I care about results. Send a message to Prime. Tell them to expect an attack. Tell them to prepare every weapon, every ship, every soldier. When that human vessel arrives, I want it annihilated. And if it destroys the shipyards? Was silent for a long moment. The possibility had not truly occurred to him until now. The shipyards were the heart of military power. Losing them would set the empire back decades. It will not, he said finally. One ship cannot defeat an empire. Bowed and left to send the warning. But in her heart she was no longer certain. She had studied the humans. She had read their history, pieced together from fragments of ancient data. They were a species forged in fire, hardened by wars against each other, united only when facing extinction. They never surrendered. They never stopped fighting. And when they were cornered, they became most dangerous of all. The USS Valiant was cornered now, deep in enemy territory with no hope of escape. Wondered what desperate things they might do next. She was about to find out. The shipyards burned against the stars like a small sun. The USS Valiant had arrived. It had started with the fuel depot. The defenders never saw the attack coming. The Valiant appeared from nowhere, fired 2 volleys of slugs into the storage tanks, and vanished before the explosions finished blooming. 3 million tons of starship fuel went up in a fireball that could be seen from neighboring star systems. The fleet panicked exactly as Daniel had predicted. Ships scattered to investigate. Communications became confused, and in that moment of chaos, the Valiant made its final jump toward the shipyards. 112 warships still guarded Prime when the human battlecruiser arrived. They opened fire immediately, filling space with energy beams and missiles. The Valiant's shields flared under the assault, but Daniel had planned for this. "Jump," he ordered. The ship vanished and reappeared inside the defense perimeter, between the enemy fleet and the station itself. The ships could not fire without risking hits on their own shipyards. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Daniel commanded. "Open channel." Ford nodded. "You are live, Captain." Daniel stood straight and spoke clearly. "Attention, Prime. This is Captain Daniel Cole of the Earth vessel Valiant. You have 30 minutes to evacuate all civilian personnel from this station. We are here to destroy your military facilities, not murder innocents. Anyone who wishes to leave will not be harmed. This is your only warning." The bridge crew stared at him. Samuel Hart looked confused. "Captain, why are we giving them time to prepare?" "Because we are not like them," Daniel said quietly. "We do not kill civilians if we can avoid it. That is what separates us from the Empire." The response came quickly. The station commander laughed at the warning. He called it a pathetic human bluff. He ordered his ships to attack. But something unexpected happened. Across the station, small transport ships began launching. Civilian workers, contractors, families who lived on the outer rings, they were fleeing. The commander screamed at them to return, but they did not listen. They had seen the reports of what the ghost ship could do. They believed the human captain's promise. "Interesting," Kate said from her station. She had returned to the bridge despite medical orders, her arm in a sling. "It seems the civilians have more sense than their military." 28 minutes remaining, Daniel announced. "Begin attack pattern Delta." The Valiant danced through the shipyards like a blade through water. Each void jump brought them closer to the main reactor. Each jump cost them precious energy they could not replace. Price worked frantically in engineering, coaxing every last bit of power from the damaged drive. The fleet reorganized and pressed their attack. Missiles streaked toward the Valiant from all directions. Energy beams carved through space. The human ship took hit after hit, its shields weakening with each blow. "Shields at 30%, Kate reported. "Hull breaches on multiple decks." "Keep moving," Daniel ordered. "Samuel, target the construction docks." The thundered. A massive dock holding 3 half-built warships broke apart and tumbled into the void. Secondary explosions rippled through connected structures. They were losing their shipyard piece by piece. "Jump drive at critical levels," his voice came over the intercom. "We have maybe 5 jumps left, Captain. Make them count." Daniel studied the tactical display. The main reactor was just ahead, protected by the heaviest concentration of enemy ships. Getting there would require everything they had left. "One more push," he said. "All hands prepare for final approach." The Valiant jumped directly into the heart of the enemy formation. Samuel fired in all directions, destroying 2 cruisers before they could react. The ship jumped again, appearing above the reactor complex. One more jump brought them point-blank against the station's core. "Fire everything," Daniel commanded. Every weapon on the Valiant spoke at once. Slugs, missiles, energy cannons, everything they had left poured into the reactor housing. The structure crumbled under the assault. Warning lights flashed across the station as containment systems failed. "Reactor breach imminent," reported. "Explosion in 40 seconds." "Jump us out," Daniel ordered. The void jump drive engaged one final time. The Valiant vanished just as the reactor exploded. The blast was beyond anything they had ever witnessed. The main reactor's destruction triggered a chain reaction that consumed the entire station. Construction docks, fuel reserves, weapons platforms, everything vanished in a wall of white fire. 47 warships caught in the blast radius were instantly vaporized. When the light faded, the great shipyards of Prime no longer existed. The USS Valiant emerged from its jump battered and broken. Half the hull was exposed to space. Fires burned in compartments across the ship. The void jump drive was completely dead, burned out from overuse. They were floating in space with no way to escape. But they had one. "Casualty report," Daniel said quietly. Kate's voice was heavy. "We lost 43 crew members, including Lieutenant Hart. He stayed at his weapons station until the end. His final shots broke through the reactor housing." Daniel closed his eyes. Samuel Hart had been 26 years old. He had his whole life ahead of him. Now he was gone, along with 42 others who had given everything for this mission. "They will be remembered," Daniel said, "all of them." Ford suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, I am detecting ships approaching, many ships." Daniel's heart sank. The remaining fleet was coming to finish them off. Without the void jump drive, they could not escape. "How many?" 65 vessels, sir, but wait." Eyes widened. "These are not signatures, these are human ships." Kate rushed to confirm the reading. "She is right. I am reading 37 vessels with Earth identification codes. Our entire fleet. They crossed the dead zone." Daniel could not believe it. "Open a channel." Admiral Stone's face appeared on and she was smiling. "Captain Cole, the cavalry has arrived. It seems you left us a path through the dead zone. Our scientists figured out how to follow your trail." "Admiral, the invasion fleet is still out there. 500 ships. 400 now, and they are not coming here." Stone's smile grew wider. "Your attack on the shipyards caused panic throughout their entire command structure. Grand Admiral has ordered a full retreat. The invasion of Earth has been canceled." The bridge crew erupted in cheers. Tears flowed freely. Crew members embraced each other, laughing and crying at the same time. Against all odds, they had done it. They had broken the Empire's will to fight. Daniel walked to the main and looked out at the wreckage of Prime. Somewhere among the debris, 43 of his people rested forever. They had given their lives so that Earth could survive. In the throne room of the Emperor, the Undying gave an order that had not been spoken in 200 years. "Retreat. Full withdrawal. Do not engage the humans." The Empire that had conquered 47 species had met something they could not defeat. Not through firepower, but through something harder to fight. The humans had shown them that some species would pay any price to protect their home. Some species could not be broken. The ghost ship became legend across the galaxy. Stories spread of a single vessel that had crossed the impossible barrier, hunted an empire, and brought the greatest military power in 3 galaxies to its knees. They taught their children to fear the void, for that was where the humans came from. Captain Daniel Cole returned to Earth a hero, but he never forgot the cost. Every year, on the anniversary of the battle, he visited the memorial wall where 43 names were carved in stone. He would stand there for hours, remembering their faces, their voices, their sacrifice. When asked about the mission, he always said the same thing: "We are humanity, we protect our own." Across the stars, those words became a warning. The dead zone was no longer a barrier. The humans were no longer hidden, and the Empire had learned a truth that would haunt them forever. Their worst fear was real. It came from the void, and it was just the beginning.